The Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigation will convene. Our witness obviously did not show, so what we intend to do is do opening statements, myself and the ranking member and the ranking chairman, as well as members on this side, and then we'll recess after that, after we put documents into the record by unanimous consent. So I'll start with my opening statement. We convene this hearing of the Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigation to examine OMB's role in the Department of Energy's loan guarantee process. The Energy Policy Act of 2005 gave the Department of Energy the authority to award loan guarantees to companies investing in innovative, clean technologies or renewable energy projects. Through the stimulus, Congress appropriated nearly $2.5 billion to pay the credit subsidy costs for the companies receiving these loan guarantees. With that funding, the DOE Loan Guarantee Program took off. So far, DOE has announced loan guarantees for 20 projects, totaling over $11 billion in financing. Solyndra, a California company, was the first recipient of a DOE loan guarantee. However, since receiving the guarantee, Solyndra has suffered a number of financial setbacks. Solyndra's own auditors noted the company's reoccurring losses and negative cash flows. The company canceled a planned initial public offering in 2010 and was forced to lay off employees in November 2010. DOE announced just last month, March, that it had modified the loan guarantee to extend the repayment period, and Solyndra's investors injected additional funding into the company. Due to the number of problems Solyndra experienced, this subcommittee began an investigation of the DOE Loan Guarantee Program and the Solyndra guarantee in particular. Examining the loan program was an obvious choice for this subcommittee. This committee is the authorizing committee for DOE and the Loan Guarantee Program. The Loan Program's office had received over $2 billion in funding from the stimulus, and the committee had yet to conduct any oversight of the program. So on February 17, 2011, this committee opened an investigation with a letter to DOE requesting a briefing and documents. As our investigation unfolded, we learned that OMB played an important role in the DOE loan guarantee process. We also became aware of a White House memorandum sent to President Obama on October 2010, where White House staff discussed certain risks presented by the Loan Guarantee Program and specifically discussed OMB's role in reviewing these loans. DOE staff were not able to shed much light on these issues or on OMB's processes for reviewing the Solyndra guarantee. So this committee sent OMB Director Jack Lew a letter on March 14, 2011, requesting a briefing and certain specific documents. Over 3 months later, this committee still does not have all the information or the full picture of OMB's review process with respect to Solyndra. At almost every step, OMB has sought to delay or frustrate this committee's effort to move this investigation forward. We did get a briefing, but OMB staff were able to offer few specifics about OMB's review of Solyndra's deal. We thought the documents would provide those details, but OMB has produced only those records that DOE gave to OMB in the course of the Solyndra review. These documents reveal nothing about what OMB did with DOE's information, and OMB so far has failed to produce any of its own reports, any memorandum, or analyses to demonstrate how it even considered or weighed the risk presented by the Solyndra deal. Committee staff then pressed OMB for production of the requested communications records, hoping these documents would provide the story of OMB's role over the course of the Solyndra review. OMB refused to produce these documents, stating, 1, in OMB's opinion, the committee did not need to see these documents. 2, that they had concerns about the confidentiality of staff discussions should these documents be made public. Committee staff attempted to accommodate this second concern by offering to review these documents in camera, meaning that committee staff would look over these documents but not take possession of them unless that review revealed a further need for the committee to take possession of the documents. In order to move the investigation forward, I called today's witness, Deputy Director Jeffrey Zients, 3 weeks ago to see if he could reach an agreement about production of these communications. And during our conversation, I asked OMB to make available to committee staff all emails exchanged on Solyndra, both internally among OMB staff and with the Department of Energy, for an in-camera review. He stated he needed to consult with OMB's counsel. 1 day later, OMB staff called back to schedule the agreed-upon in-camera review. But in what I view as a telling example of OMB's overall approach to this investigation, they did not live up to their end of the bargain. Instead of producing all communications relating to Solyndra, as we had discussed, OMB took it upon himself to select just 8 emails that were exchanged between DOE and OMB in late August 2009, just 1 week before the Solyndra loan closed. According to OMB staff, they made their own determination that it was not necessary for this committee to see any more emails, including OMB's own internal emails. In their opinion, these 8 emails were all the committee needed to see. OMB's position demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of the constitutional roles of Congress and the executive branch. It is not OMB's job to direct this investigation and decide what Congress can and cannot see. This committee has jurisdiction over the Department of Energy program. OMB plays a role in approving the credit subsidy costs for over $11 billion in loan guarantees. Congress appropriated over $2 billion in taxpayer money to pay these costs. Congress and the taxpayers have a right to know if OMB is doing a good job of weighing the risks that are associated with these investments and with these deals. We know that OMB's role extended beyond the 1-week period in late August 2009. I hope that the Deputy Director would have viewed this hearing as I do, OMB's last chance to finally and fully answer the committee's questions about OMB's role in reviewing the Solyndra guarantee and simply turn over the requested documents that we have sought. However, they once again have chosen to delay and frustrate this committee's effort to resolve this matter. I believe the time has come for the committee to fulfill its oversight obligations and responsibility and pursue this information together, if we can, with the ranking member and the Democrats to move this investigation forward. And ultimately, if we can agree or not agree, we might move to possibly a subpoena. And with that, I recognize the ranking member for her opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that this hearing, OMB's role in the DOE Loan Guarantee Process, is a potentially very constructive hearing, and that this committee could play a real oversight role going forward. The subcommittee could do a thoughtful review of the material we've obtained. They could follow the facts where they lead. And obtaining testimony from OMB officials is a legitimate means of advancing this effort. Having said that, I think it's hard to see how an empty chair hearing would accomplish anything, and I think it's a profound waste of everybody's time. Instead of truly examining OMB's role in the DOE Loan Guarantee Program, we're spending time on a hearing that will obtain absolutely no new facts for the record. And this proceeding follows on the heels of public statements by the chairman this spring suggesting that the loan guarantee program involved political favoritism, an allegation that's completely unsupported by the documents provided by DOE and OMB and by interviews the committee has conducted with relevant parties. And by the way, given those statements, it's easy to see why the DOE would be a little bit leery about just unlimited document productions. Now, the hearing date today was announced before the majority even contacted their witness to ascertain his availability. In fact, he received his formal invitation to this hearing just 3.5 days ago. And Mr. Zients is, as I understand it, perfectly willing to testify. But rather than reschedule the hearing for one of the dozens of days he is available, the majority has called members here to just address their concern to an empty chair. Now, Mr. Zients says he's willing to come before the committee. He couldn't come today, but he's willing to come in the future. Now, I will also say the minority is very willing to work with the majority to make sure that appropriate documents are produced by the witnesses. OMB has a duty to provide appropriate documents. If they're not providing appropriate documents, then that needs to happen. And we have agreed, Mr. Chairman, upon a process by which over the next recess, the next 10 days or so, our staffs will work together and will work with the OMB to identify and produce the appropriate documents. If that does not happen, then we will sit down and talk about further steps, because this is an appropriate oversight role, and we do look forward to working with you. But frankly, I think sitting here this morning is a big waste of time, and I yield back.
I thank the gentlelady.
Mr. Chairman, I also have 2 letters I'd like to enter for the record. The letter from, are they both from Mr. Zients? One is from Bill Richardson, the Deputy General Counsel, and dated June 22nd to you, and the other is from Mr. Zients, dated yesterday. Both these letters express their willingness to come, and also their willingness to work with the committee on the documents that would be produced, and I ask unanimous consent to enter those in the record.
Is so ordered, and we have also an email here by unanimous consent we have shown to your staff. We'd like to put that part of the record. By unanimous consent, that's part of the record. And I would just point out to the gentlelady that we did invite the Deputy Director 7 days ago, plenty of time in advance according to the rules. With that, I recognize for 5 minutes the gentlelady from Tennessee, Ms. Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I know that the bell is rung for votes, and we'll soon be heading that direction. But I think that as we sit here this morning, even though we will not have our hearing as we had wanted to have, that we have to remember the words of Reagan: trust but verify. And that is what we're going to do over and over again as we look at the steps the bureaucracy is taking. Our constituents are hurting. We have unemployment at 9.1%. Underemployment is getting pretty close to the 20% range. Small businesses with fewer than 20 employees face an average regulatory cost of over $10,000 per employee due to all of the new federal regulations that have been hitting them, and it seems as if there's no end in sight on those. And if that's not enough, CBO has stated that our nation's debt will overtake our economy by the end of the decade. This is not a rosy outlook. Now more than ever, this committee and OMB have a responsibility. It is a responsibility to the taxpayers to ensure that every dollar that leaves Washington, especially through loan guarantees backed by American taxpayers, are being put through the highest levels of oversight and accountability. As we examine OMB's role in the loan guaranteeing process today, one loan in particular that we all were looking forward to discussing is the $535 million loan guarantee to Solyndra in September '09 to build a solar panel manufacturing facility. I thought it was interesting. 6 months after the loan guarantee was approved, Solyndra's auditor, PricewaterhouseCoopers, stated that the company had suffered recurring losses from operations, negative cash flows since inception, and has a net stockholders deficit that, among other concerns, raised substantial doubt about its ability to continue as a going concern. My questions would be, did OMB and DOE share any of these same concerns just 6 months prior to this report? We don't fully know the answer yet, and we're not going to get it today. Also, what exactly was OMB's role throughout the loan guarantee process to Solyndra? And we don't have the answer to that either. We don't know because OMB has yet to produce the notes, analysis, memoranda, documents that its staff has created in response to a Solyndra review. And I hope that OMB will change their position, be willing to work with us on this issue. Our constituents want some answers. We need to have answers to these questions. And, you know, Mr. Chairman, much of it is due to the fact we're hearing today that the President now is wanting to do a $500 million technology fund to do similar things. Congress shouldn't be the President, the administration shouldn't be choosing winners and losers, and we need to be diligent in our oversight. And I yield to the gentleman from Texas.
Ms. Blackburn yields to the gentleman from Texas.
I thank the gentlelady for yielding. So we're here today in the Oversight and Investigations Subcommittee to get information on how funds from the so-called stimulus package from 2009 have been used. And this investigation, this type of investigation, is historically what this subcommittee has done best. But we find ourselves thwarted by an administration that once again is being non-compliant with the will of the Congress. Now, shovel-ready is a concept that was thrown around a lot in 2009, but just in the last few weeks, the President himself, he admitted that he wasn't quite sure of the definition of shovel-ready, or maybe he was unsure of the definition of shovel-ready when the bill was passed. But in any event, what started as a $787 billion bill turned into $862 billion, and the fact of the matter is we've got very little to show for it. In the course of conducting our constitutionally mandated role of oversight, this committee has repeatedly attempted to work with Office of Management of the Budget to review the documents pertinent to this investigation. Time and again, this White House has thwarted any sort of sunlight being shown on how the federal taxpayer money is being spent and how determinations were made to that end. This is important work, and this committee must accomplish this. The administration must recognize that the legislative branch is indeed a co-equal branch of government, and the will of the legislative branch must not be thwarted, as it has been repeatedly by this administration on numerous fronts. I hope the chairman will take this lack of response by the administration very seriously and be fully prepared to exercise all of the authority that this subcommittee has in order to compel this witness to come and testify before our subcommittee. And Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back the balance of my time.
Yield back.
I thank the gentleman. I'd also ask unanimous consent to enter the following documents in the record. Majority Staff's supplemental memorandum regarding the efforts it has taken to obtain documents from OMB, and 2, the document binder for the hearing. Without objection, so ordered. It's very unfortunate that our witness failed to show, but we have made every effort to do so, and the subcommittee is adjourned.